Welcome, guys, to another episode of Sports Bros. Letting everybody know, letting our fans know, we would like you guys still to subscribe and hit the like button on our videos just to let us know your opinions. Also, comment on there and let us know what's going on. Today, we have a good episode. We're going to be talking about a little bit about the NBA Finals, and then we'll go on from there. A little bit of trade talk, and then, like I said, we'll talk about other little things that are going on in the NBA right now. But today I'm going to start off. The NBA Finals just ended. It was a good season for everybody. A lot of surprises, but especially in the NBA Finals, we've seen a team that was not really, like I said, not given the credit. They went in, they had to do what they had to do, and took care of business. But also on the East side of the bracket, you had a team that played not that good in the regular seasons and surprised a lot of people. I'm going to pass it on to Amos and just tell me about what you thought about the NBA Finals, Amos.
Yeah, I mean, simply looking at the finals, looking at the whole series, to me, it just was really never in doubt when you really think about it. I know it's hindsight, but last time we were on here, we were talking about Game 2 and how the Heat had mounted that comeback in the fourth quarter, and just like that, we were off to Miami, and it was a tied series. Well, after it's all said and done now, going through 5 games, really it was just that one quarter in Game 2 where the Heat, really took control. Otherwise, I mean, at best it was pretty even for the Heat, but the Nuggets really were just in control. For them to go fly all the way to Miami and really just be in control that whole series, they got so much contributions from, a lot of their role players, and we all talked about how they weren't very deep. To see Cardwell Pope do what he did. To see, obviously, you had the bench, right? The bench did their thing. And then on top of that, you had someone like Michael Porter Jr., who wasn't shooting very well the last 2 or 3 games. And luckily for him, Aaron Gordon was out there contributing not just defensively, but offensively as well. So I just thought, they really just played really great as a team. Mike Malone, I know a lot of people questioned him, and I know it's for him. It just feels great not having that chip on your shoulder, and now it's just gone. You get your first title, you get the city's first title, and then obviously Jokic, obviously Murray, Jamal Murray, they just did their thing. They were so good. Jokic was historic. These finals, these playoffs. And then I definitely have to say, I know I've talked about Cardwell Pope, but Brown, Bruce Brown. I mean, that kid was phenomenal, man, defensively. But when I want to say he had 17. That last game, some around there, when he's getting 17, it's just too easy now for the Nuggets. So, congrats to Denver. Like Efren said, a lot of people didn't really believe in them, and once you started seeing them kind of do their thing in the playoffs, specifically at home, I think people really started kind of keeping their eyes on Denver and really taking them serious, especially when you beat the Lakers as handily as they did. So again, congrats to Denver. I want to ask though, KJ, you're obviously a big Miami Heat fan. What did you see towards the end of the series, and then how are you handling it, man? I could obviously make fun of you or whatever and troll, but I know how it is to lose a big series like that, and it's the worst thing. The last thing you need is one of your boys kind of rubbing it into your face, right? So how are you feeling? And then my one question for you is, what do the Heat need going forward?
Well, for me, it was just like after game 5. Oh shit! After game 5, I told myself I'm not going on Instagram the whole next day. I don't want to see parade videos. I don't want to see any of that stuff. But no, watching the series, especially the last, I want to say 2, maybe last 3 games, it felt like watching the Nuggets played like Steph does, and it's just heating up in the third quarter. It would be close at halftime, and then in the third quarter, they would just go on some big run And then going into the fourth quarter, we're down 15, and we couldn't come back. It was the only team we couldn't come back from. You got, who did we play in the first round? You got Milwaukee. Giannis was injured. You had the Knicks, who is very young. Julius Randle does not perform in the playoffs. And then the only competition we really had was the Celtics, and we were able to come back because of the mistakes they always made in the fourth quarter, turning the ball over, traveling, taking stupid shots. This team was just fundamentally sound and didn't make the same mistakes. We thought Derek White was something crazy off the bench against the Celtics. Bruce Brown was better. Aaron Gordon played a real big role that I didn't think he could play. And I said that we were just going to let him shoot, let him score. First game he comes out, he scores 12 of their first 20. So then that already killed it. The main thing that hurt us was Caleb Martin didn't show up as much as he did against the Celtics. And I think that's due to the size. He was able to, because he could get by them, but once he got to the rim, Michael Porter Jr. had like 3 blocks on him in the first game of the first quarter. And then what else? Strus, bad shooting again in the finals. I think he shot bad against the Lakers in the finals and shot bad last year against the Celtics. I think Gabe Vincent, he was dealing with an ankle injury. Kevin Love, he's just old. It's surprising Kyle Lowry showed up because he doesn't seem to show up very often. But I mean, it was a nice run. It was cool. I think it hurts more to lose in the finals than to just lose to Milwaukee or lose to the Celtics. In terms of what we need, we definitely don't need Dame. I do not want Dame's old ass, especially if we're going to give up Tyler Hero and a bunch of other stuff. You can't be giving up 3 first-round picks and Tyler Hero and Nikola Jovic for Dame, who's, what, 34? 33?
That was 32, maybe going on 33, or he might be 33, yeah. But I want to say he's 32 going on 33 next season.
Even
if I can play devil's advocate, Ken. If I can play devil's advocate, so yeah, the 3 first-round picks, if that's what they're asking for, that's just too much. I agree. You know what I'm saying? But if it's along maybe 1 or 2, the Heat, they're going to be really good with Dame, obviously assuming they're healthy either way. So those 2 picks are going to be in the late round, late first round. They're going to be very late 20s probably. Sure. Also, we've seen the Heat. They draft well when they don't even have picks, right? And so I'd argue that, hey, bring on Dame. What's Jimmy? KJ 33 or 2, right?
I think he's 33, yeah.
Yeah. And so my argument would be, hey, they're in a situation where they need to win now, And so while Dame is old, as long as he's healthy, he's still one of the best players in this league, certainly for a guard. And to have him and Jimmy as a pair, I think you'd have to look into it strongly, And so I do agree, yeah, he's obviously older, but I think both of them are in win now mode anyways. If Jimmy was maybe 25, 24, okay, but I wouldn't be as worried about the age as long as you're not giving up too many first round picks. I guess that would be my argument.
And yeah, it's not so much about the age, it's about the injury. I mean, I'm not saying he's as good as Dame, but look at what Dallas thought they were getting when they got Porzingis. And then he was just injury prone, and then they shipped him off to the Wizards for nothing. I feel like that's what we'll get. I mean, we'll get a little bit more because it's Dame. It's second best point guard in the league, all that hype behind him. But I mean, he missed how many games the last 2 years due to the Olympics injury, playing through that abdominal injury, and then getting injured this last year. I don't remember what he hurt, but it just seems like he has not played very much in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I know last year, this past season, it was brutal as far as his injuries. I'm actually looking it up because I don't recall how much games he did miss the year before. I do remember he was hurt though.
The only thing I can tell you about that situation also is you guys got to know that Dame. I know what you're talking about Dame and everything, but Jimmy needs somebody out there to help him out, not just Bam. They need a third scorer. And no offense to Tyler Hero or Duncan Robertson, I don't think they're that person. I would, if I was the Heat, I wouldn't do the 3 first rounders, but I would I would really consider it because it showed it. It showed your team to not have the players to show up in this series. After watching it, like I said, you guys, how big they were inside, um, it was just too much for you guys as just watching the game. And I think it would have been with. I think that's the only team. I think the Nuggets were this year's team to beat, and nobody was going to beat them. I don't care who came out of the East was going to beat them after watching them really play. Not even Boston. But the Dame with Dame trying to get him to Miami, I would consider it. But like you said, KJ, I wouldn't give up 3 first rounders for Dame. The injury thing, they're both in their prime. We all seen, no offense to Jimmy, but from game 6 or 5 in Boston to the NBA Finals, never showed up no more.
What do you mean? Am I wrong? Game 7, he had like 28, 8, and 7.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I'll give him that. But in the finals, they just had a number the whole time, and Bam did what he had to do as much as he could. But Bam did what LeBron did in his game 4. Bam would come in, score all his points in the first half, and in the second half, nowhere to be found. And it kind of sucks because you're the only one doing anything, and you need to score a lot of points to get adjusted to. So, like I said, it's good and bad. Hopefully, like I said, there's next season. There's a lot of trade talks, like you said, for KJ. Are you guys willing to give up Tyler Herro for somebody else? Who would you want to pick up? Honestly, if you had a shot at anybody in the league to trade with Tyler like that package, who would you want, KJ?
That's obviously realistic,
That's the thing. There's nobody that I would like. I still wouldn't even have traded. I'd have to see his numbers, but I still wouldn't have even traded Tyler Herro for Bradley Beal because I feel like the scoring gap is kind of it's at the same area, and I mean he's one of the only players where I would agree with Efren's term of a good player on a bad team, because I mean he averaged 30 when John Wall left. He wasn't doing that when John Wall was there, and John Wall was only averaging like 18, 20 his last few years with the Wizards. I don't see anybody that we really need like that. If Tyler Herro had played, the only thing I would say we would need is a better backup big than Cody Zeller. Like if we had last year's roster with Dwayne Dedmon, I feel like we had won a game or two more. And then if Tyler Herro plays, it's competitive. But I don't see anybody who we really could get for Tyler Herro, because it feels like his value, he's so undervalued to me personally, and it may be because I know more about Miami than most people. But I mean, going from $6 million a year to getting put in the starting lineup and still averaging 20, but averaging, I think he was shooting better this year. And just the way he plays, he could play a point guard position. Okay. So I've seen that there's talks about us getting Kyrie. Yeah, that would be cool. But then now you got Kyrie and Tyler Herro as your backcourt. There's no defense. You already saw what it looked like with with Luka, and Luka's much bigger than Tyler Herro.
I understand those are some great talks, guys. For trade talks, like now that we're starting to talk about trade talks, let me know what you guys think about this Bradley Beal trade. Did you guys like it? What kind of grade do you guys give it? And who was the winner of this trade? Was it the Wizards or the Suns? Go ahead, KJ. Let me know what you think.
I mean, it's the same thing I said when they traded for KD. You have no bench. I mean, you're going to be scrapping for veteran minimum contracts. And, I mean, who plays the point? Beal or Booker? Because, I mean, I guess Booker played a little bit of point, but DeAndre Ayton still doesn't want to be there. It doesn't matter if you fired the coach, any of that. He doesn't want to be in Arizona anymore. KD, he's getting old. Devin Booker is a no-show. when it comes to big moments like that. Like, what was his? I think he like averaged like what 5 points less versus the Nuggets than he did the series before. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. I'm probably pulling stats out my ass, but either way, I think they're in a much worse predicament than they were when I thought they weren't going to win it because they traded for KD. That's pretty much it. I mean, Chris Paul, like I said, injury prone. We'll see where he ends up, but
They're saying he might go back. They're saying he might go back to the Clippers.
That's what I heard.
So that's crazy.
I heard that the Warriors were in talks for getting him before he got shipped off to the Wizards. But
now, what about you, Amos? Sorry, KJ. What do you give the grade for this trade? I know it's the only trade we've been talking about, but who do you think won this trade? Honestly,
I think it's a lose-lose. I think that the Suns now have less money to get a bench, and that's the reason why they lost to the Nuggets. And I think the Wizards just gave up a top 25 player for just to trade Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and 3 second rounds from a team who's going to be one of the best teams in the league during the regular season. So their second rounds are going to be high 50s. I mean, you got Landry Shamet essentially for Bradley Beal, just to clear cap.
Okay, Amos. I know listening to KJ, his opinion. What about you? What do you think about the trade that just happened? And give me your grades for it, and who was the winner and loser?
For me, personally, I think we probably have a different opinion on this then. So for me, I think the Suns were the clear winner, and I'd say the Suns. I'd give them an A minus, and I'd give the Wizards probably like a D plus, and I'll get to that in a second. So the reason why I liked it for the Suns, okay, I don't love the fit at all as far as Bill going with Devin Booker and KD, right? Because they already have the shooting, they already have the wing, the wing scores, the shooting. They all play a lot alike, especially Bill and Devin Booker. But my argument for them making the trade is, what did we say? What did we say a few days ago, guys? I think I even asked Efren. The Suns had waived Chris Paul, right? He was gone a couple days ago, right? Or that was the plan.
That was the agreement that he was going to be waived.
That was the agreement. So if you waive him, you're not able to sign someone for that contract because that's dead money now. So what do? Instead of cutting him and then basically having nobody to replace him, you end up getting a guy in Bradley Beal of his nature, and like KJ said, at minimum he's a top 25 player. But if he can, a lot of shots are going to open it up for him, man. And so you could argue that he's a top 20 player if he's right, So my thing is, you add someone like Bradley Beal, arguably a top 20, top 25 player, for basically nothing, because you were cutting Chris Paul, you're trading Landry Shamet and a bunch of second round picks. And to KJ's point, they're going to be a way later second round picks. And so to me, at the end of the day, you just get another guy who's that much more talented. And so yes, I get it, KJ, to your point, it was why me and you weren't huge on the Suns going forward, because they had no depth, and now their depth is even worse.
Well, don't you think for what they gave up, you could have gotten, like, if they're saying that Chris Paul was possibly going to go to the Warriors, don't you think they could have gotten like Kuminga or someone younger and a little bit more better defensively? Because I mean, the reason why you had to give up Chris Paul and then throw in Landry Shamet was for Bradley Beal's contract. Kuminga and them are not making that much. I mean, you could throw in Jordan Poole, Kuminga, and then the Suns can throw in possibly a first round, and now you got, I mean, I know Jordan Poole had a bad playoff, but you got an up-and-coming player, and you got a development player who's really good defensively.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's fair, but that's just us assuming that they were offering that, right? And we don't necessarily know. If they were, I would still probably say no, because my argument is Kuminga, he's probably at his lowest value right now. I mean, if you would have traded him the year before, you probably would have got higher value. And so, yes, he's still young. I'm not saying his potential is done, but from a value standpoint, it's not very high. And Jordan Poole, certainly his value isn't high at all. You can get games and moments from him, but to me, he's not necessarily the player that I think the Suns would need, right? Because now all of a sudden you have someone who, and I get it, what you're saying, you'd have more depth, so you'd have more guys, including him, but he's not bringing the defense that the Suns need. He's bringing inconsistent shooting. And so that, to me personally, that package wouldn't be the best. But really, for me, it's all about the fact that you were going to lose Chris Paul, assuming you weren't going to get a better trade for that. But at the end of the day, I think I had said this in the text, guys. What's stopping them from? Yeah, they'll probably sign a bunch of guys to the minimum, like you said, KJ. But I don't believe for a second DeAndre Ayton is going to be with this team. I truly.
That was going to be my next question. Do you think he stays?
So my thing with that. Sorry for interrupting both of you guys. I was just about to come on with that. I believe before they would have did this trade with Bradley Beal, I wish they would have traded Ayton to Portland and got Dame instead. You could have got Dame and probably the center that they have, Nurkic, for Ayton and some draft picks. I believe.
I don't know. I don't think Ayton's value is that high. I think you would have to throw in draft picks with Ayton just to get Dame, because Yusuf Nurkic is still he's a top 15 center. I mean, there's only 30 teams. He would be in my top 15.
But
I was going to say, exactly.
Do you think Nurkic? Hold on, sorry. Do you think Nurkic is a better center than Ayton?
Oh no, but he's more reliable.
That's what
I was going to say, because of that, KJ, it's not that significant, and now you're losing Dame on top of that. Basically, you're not trading one of your best players in franchise history for Ayton. You know what I'm saying? And you would argue too, DeAndre Ayton's contract isn't very satisfactory. So to me, it just you can trade Ayton for some pieces. I'm not saying you can't, but for Dame, I just don't really see that as being realistic, though, Efren. But I do think we would all agree, though, that I do think Ayton is a trade piece going forward. I don't think you guys you're gonna get anything great for him, but you can get someone again for who has a decent contract and who's a defensive guy. I think you can get a few guys for Ayton, and so that's what I really think they're going to do is going forward. They're going to go to a team that can give them 2 or 3 solid pieces, and 1 or 2 of those guys probably won't have the best contracts. But that's what I see them kind of doing. And then real quick, worst case, you come into the season and now it's not, it's just not working with those 3, right? What stops them from trading one of those 3 then, right? And then getting high picks, because there's always going to be that team there that's willing to trade a high contract guy who's not really producing to get a superstar like KD, right? I think KD would certainly be, potentially a trade target this season, right? I mean, at the end of the day, he's a phenomenal player. Teams want him, but he's 33, right? So, at the end of the day, they have options now, that's why I would say that's why I like the Suns. The Wizards, on the other hand, they're essentially just wrapping their hands clean, right? They're basically just starting over. My problem is you didn't get anything for Bill, and I think really what happened was because you gave Bill a no trade clause, I think, and I'm just speculating this, I'm guessing he probably had more decent offers, but when you have a no trade clause, he has a lot of say as far as what the return is, And so I think with the Wizards, they just looked at it like, okay, you know what? We're not going to get a lot of great pieces for him because he wants those pieces on his team he's going to. Clearly, with the Suns, they weren't going to trade the Wizards, Booker, KD, or really Ayton, right? I think we would have thought Ayton would have been a part of it. And so at the end of the day, I think Bill probably had a lot more say. I mean, it's just speculation, but I'm guessing he had a lot more say as far as the trade. But from a Wizard standpoint you're just not getting anything. You're getting 2nd round picks that are going to be super late. And Landry, he's a good defender, but he's not a game changer. He's not a guy that you would even think that would be around a main cog in your franchise, right? So at the end of the day, he's a role player. So I can't say I really like it. We all know Chris Paul is going to be getting waived as soon as he gets there, right? I'm not even sure if he's going to step foot in DC. So I don't love it for the DC. But because I do think, I would have thought that they could have got something better. But that's all. That's my main opinion.
What do you think, Efren?
Just like Well, just like I was telling you guys right now, just the rumor of Chris Paul going back to the Clippers. You're gonna have Chris Paul, uh, Kawhi, and Paul George.
The IR squad.
That'll be a good.
I said the IR squad.
In the reserve squad. I know what you're saying. But that was still good. 3 good pieces over there. What I think about this trade, honestly, I just didn't like it for Phoenix. You got 3 players that are all shooters that all want the ball to score. I know KD will be the less relevant one, but now you're gonna move Devin Booker to the 1. All that's gonna do is Devin Booker go ahead and shoot lights out, and if you're not scoring, here, Beal, or Beal's gonna try to take a shot. It's the same thing that happened in Miami. I want to know who's gonna be the person to take the game-winning shot when it comes down to it. That's my thing. I hope it's still KD, but at the end of the day, like we were saying, they got to get rid of Aiden's contract. They got to find a way to get pieces out there to compete, and that's the only way I see it. That's what I was saying. I want to see. Not that I want to see. I want to see who they get for Aiden. Because remember, Aiden did get that max, right?
Let me ask you a question, Efren.
But he's not playing like a max.
I know, but he got the max contract.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's on. Go ahead.
Would you have preferred the Suns to just have cut Chris Paul and not got Brad Beal at all then?
You can
yes
trade.
And no.
You could trade
Yes
Chris
and
Paul.
No.
You don't have a no trade clause.
Yeah.
But the point. Okay, that's beside the point though. Besides, the point is they had cut him, right? They were going to cut him. That's you know what I'm saying. So
I understand what you're saying. So like I said, but see, I didn't hear it that way too when you explained it right now, and that's why that changed me a little bit. Like in my mind, it was still a bad trade, but you're correct with what you're saying, Amos. The Suns did what they had to do, and they waived their hands of Chris Paul's contract. Now they, like you said, now they can sign free agent point guards or veteran players to help out too. So, but like I said, it's something crazy. Go ahead.
I just think you top 25 guy now that you could potentially. And it's gonna be tough because now he has a no trade clause, of course, right? So he's probably obviously KD would be your number one. Obviously, no, Aiden, like I said, right? It's good. I think we all agree especially me and you, Efren, right? As far as the fit, it's a weird fit. It wasn't the best fit, but my point is, you just now gained a top 25 player when you were literally gonna lose Chris Paul for basically nothing, And so now it's all about trades. It's all about trades. Aiden, what are you gonna do with Aiden? You have to let him go. You have to get 2 or 3 guys that can play, that can defend. I'll give you an example, Efren. I know you didn't love it, so I had sent these guys a text last night or something like that, and I said, okay. Obviously, Lonzo Ball, we get it. He's not healthy. It's a big question mark, okay? So let's just assume for 1 second, though, we knew he was going to return normal and he was somewhat healthy. Okay? Let's just assume that. And I know it's a big assumption, so maybe it's not fair. But with his contract, it's not ideal, but he makes a decent chunk. With Alex Caruso, he makes a decent chunk, right? And then what was the power forward I put in? Their first-round pick?
Pat Williams.
So with Pat Williams, he's more of a depth guy, power forward, right? I want to say he can play small forward a little bit too, right? Yes. Maybe even center for small stretches, right? Small stretches. So my point was, you get 3 guys like that who are basically defensive guys, role players. And if you could get them to the Suns, and obviously this is assuming Ball is healthy though, I thought that would have been a pretty good acquisition for the Suns, because now all of a sudden you have Lonzo Ball, who is your point guard now. He can play defense. You have Caruso off the bench, and they're going to need wing defense, right? And then on top of that, you have Williams, who's just more of that kind of do-it-all, can do everything on the bench guy, right? So that was just an example. If you can find a trade like...
So, and the only reason I said that, and not even just the Lonzo part, the only reason I see that would not work is I feel like Pat Williams is on a rise, and
Chicago would want more.
Yeah. Chicago want more for him, and Aiden, I know you just send it out, and then we got Vucevic yet. We're trying to talk contract extension with him. I just it'll be a hard one.
to play devil's advocate now, though, you're gonna have to sign Vukovic to probably a decent chunk, and he's a lot older than Aiden, right?
Yes.
So now all of a sudden you have. I would personally, if it's going to be around the same contract, give me Aiden just simply because of the age. On top of that, you would know more though. Pat, I looked at his advanced stats, and he only had 11.6, which isn't very good. So to me, I don't see him as a, what am I trying to say? I don't see him being that like. I don't think he's really an important piece. I think he's a good, solid role player, but because he's already, I mean, again, you know more Efren, admittedly.
Yeah.
What is he?
So,
23?
so for the Bulls, so like you were saying, for the Bulls, he the only reason that he wasn't really like this year is where they had him playing like power forward. That's his position. He's always been a 6-man. He knows how to come off the bench and everything. But that's the thing, that we drafted him to be a 6-man, not a starter. But I want him to start. I think he's a lot better than the power forwards that we've had there. And I think if we give him more playing time, he could show up. But you got to remember the way that Billy Donovan had this team playing. We were playing small a lot this whole year because we didn't have a big man to play the back. You had Vucevic, you had Pat Williams sometimes starting at power forward, but you got Vucevic getting beat down low a lot of the time. And like you said, yeah, Aiden would be a good piece to move, but let's be real too. Look at how if he's gotten dominated in the West, what do you think he's not going to get dominated in the East? You think they're going to want to pay him all that money for him to be look like a full 2 and give up all these pieces? Especially if Lonzo was healthy. If you think about it, remember
Bulls wouldn't want to trade him.
Huh?
If Lonzo was healthy, the Bulls wouldn't want to trade him.
Because if you actually remember, when he was healthy and we were playing, we were leading the East at the All-Star break, almost at the end of the season. Correct or not?
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it. It's a big if. Like you said, it's a big if. And this is me talking, my biased opinion about Pat Williams, but like you said, the stats also show they'll be like, hey, maybe we can get something for A, and that would be a good 3 pieces to send to Phoenix, and Phoenix would actually benefit a lot more than we would in that trade. But it would benefit out for Phoenix to do something to win a title. I think those would be the good role players that they could have, because you could either start Lonzo or you can have him come off the bench, and or you can you can start Lonzo and have Beal come off the bench, and Caruso come off the bench. You understand? And you still have scoring. Like you guys said, the age wise, for Fino or for Bradley Beal, hey, the less time he's on the court, the more, and like Devin Booker and him can switch up, and you still have scoring happening with your players. You understand? So I understand what you're saying about that.
There's only hold
on. Just to be clear though, like so maybe I misspoke earlier, but what I was saying though is, so because you had said, on text, Ball, his injury, he might not even be right? Yeah. So I was more saying an example is if he's healthy enough to where he's going to be playing so much sooner. So KJ was saying, trade for him if he's already healthy, good to go. I'm not saying in that sense, because of course that'd be a bad trade. But I'm saying, if the Bulls, because obviously, as you guys know, 2 teams' medical staffs don't mean one team is going to have the same medicals as the other team. So maybe the Bulls are less confident in him being full speed going forward, whereas maybe the other team, right, they might have different thoughts. So I don't know. I just think it's
the thing I was going to say about that was he's gone to like plenty of doctors, and they say that there's no doctor in the U.S. that can tell what's wrong with his knee. And that's where it's like, in your scenario, if he does get healthy to play, it's definitely not going to be until next year, and that means KD's another year older, and then that means like even if he is able to come back healthy, he still can't walk upstairs right now properly, so he's not coming back this year.
Wasn't like a serious like trade. I was just more, I think understands. I was, it was more of an example, and so I was using them from like a cap space purpose,
and that would have been a good for Phoenix. It would be something good. Because, like I said, you're getting 3 good role players, like you said. I feel like
even 2, maybe you would say, okay, But
the only reason why I'd do it if I was the Bulls is if Vucevic goes, you let Ayton have his because you have DeRozan and everybody, you're still gonna want to try and be competitive. I was gonna say if you don't have DeRozan and Zach LaVine leaves, you let Aiden cook for 1 to 2 years, and then you trade him. You just raise his value, and that's it. Because then you don't have to worry about him performing in the playoffs if he's your best player, because you're not making the playoffs. And then
I feel, and you're correct on that one, KJ, because
he becomes a top 5 player, top 5 center.
And I feel now that if we are talking about like trade wise, I hope that honestly this team, I wanted to say it again, but at the same time, I don't see it. I just don't. I just don't like I've been telling you. I don't see us making a big run. I don't see, and I'm thinking it's the coach again. I thought Billy Donovan was gonna be a good fit for us, and it's looking like he's not. We give up 20-point leads like there's no tomorrow, and Billy Donovan was about defense before. What happened to that? So
I think I think Lonzo
yeah.
was your main reason. I mean, a great point guard. Like I say, if Chris Paul plays against the Warriors when he was on the Rockets, they don't shoot 27 threes and miss. A great point guard can, and especially how defensively good Lonzo is, I think when healthy, he's a top 5 point guard.
True. And like I said, so now that we're talking about this, my next question, well, I wanted to find out, Amos, you had some good trade scenarios you wanted to talk about. I know we've been talking about a couple of them. I really don't have them, but I'm going to try to keep thinking about some in my head. But give me some trade scenarios that you wanted to talk to us about. Now that we're talking about a lot about all these trades that are going to be going on in the NBA.
All right, so I had two good ones. I thought I had two solid ones. So tear me apart, guys, if you don't agree, or maybe you guys will like one side, maybe you guys won't like from the other side. The second one, give me a second to find, but the first one I have, and this is going to be kind of wild, I'm not going to lie. So it's going to be LA trading with the 76ers. All right. And then I have Efren's King, LeBron, going to the Sixers. All right.
Bum.
So I had LeBron going to the Sixers for Tobias Harris and let's see, Tyrese Maxey. Okay. And so my reasoning is, I'll start with LA. I'll start with the 76ers. Okay. My reasoning is, and it's the trade says trade successful here, so it works from a cap space standpoint. From an analytical standpoint, it actually says the Sixers get +1 better, whereas the Lakers get -4. So it's pretty close. But yeah, just from a perspective from the Sixers, it's like you're gaining LeBron James, one of the best players to ever play the game, one of the smartest players to ever play the game. But I think we'd all agree LeBron James has never, ever been the third best player, I don't even think in his life, probably, right, on a team ever, right, even growing up. So, I mean, he just now recently became the second best player on his team, right? So now you go to the Sixers, and yeah, you can even argue, sure, that he's a better player than Harden, but I think for the most part, volume-wise, I think he'd be kind of that guy that would kind of sit back. Of course, Embiid, right? That's their superstar. James Harden, I would think, would still get a lot more looks, touches than LeBron. I think LeBron would be good with that. And so now all of a sudden you add LeBron James to the Sixers, and he's the third best player on that team. He's the leader you need. And let's just be honest, LeBron James can do it all, right? And so I just think if you're the Sixers, you're in a standpoint of we have to win now, right? You have to win now. Embiid is going on, 30? I think he was 28 this past season. He'll be 30 next season. What's Harden, guys? 32, 33? I think honestly he'll be 33 this next season. So they're in win now mode. And there's not a lot of guys who are top 15 players still, at the minimum, he's a top 20 player that is realistically available. Okay. So, and if you're the Sixers, you don't care about Tobias Harris, right? The guy that hurts is Tyrese Maxey, that's no doubt about it. But you're getting LeBron James. Obviously, you'd have to know LeBron James is committed to at least 2 seasons, right? I want LeBron for at least 2 seasons to give me at least 2 years to, go for the finals, go for the ship. All right. From a Lakers standpoint, you do it because the Lakers really are in a really bad situation financially, because LeBron James' contract. So if you guys see, a lot of the Lakers, they have a lot of free agents, right? Whether it's their let's see, I'm just looking right now. So whether it's so D'Angelo Russell, he's a free agent. Whether it's Hachimura, right? He's a free agent. Whether it's Austin Reeves, who's a restricted free agent, but you guys know a team's out there is going to give him a decent contract. So they have a lot of guys who are important cogs in this team that are role players. And so the biggest contracts that they have tied up are AD, who you'd rather not trade. You'd rather trade LeBron and his 44 million than AD and his 37 million. On top of Mo Bamba's 10 mil, right? So of course you don't really care about Mo Bamba. You get rid of Mo Bamba if you can. So I guess my argument for the Lakers is your cap situation's in a really bad situation. They want to get Austin Reeves, they want to bring him back, but if you bring him back, are you really going to rock LeBron James, who's going to be 38, 39 next season as your second best player? And so to me, I just think the Lakers are capped. I think they should go younger. And to me, the Lakers would have a worse version of the Nuggets. They'd have a poor man's Jamal Murray and Jokic with AD and with Maxey. So I don't know. I think it'd be good because, again, going forward for the Lakers, you have Tyrese Maxey, who by the way, only has one more year. So the 76ers were going to have to pay him a huge deal anyways. But now Lakers, you have an important piece going forward. And for the Sixers, it's win now time. So what do you guys think? Who's getting screwed? What do you guys think?
You want to take this with KJ? You want me?
You go first.
Well, first of all, LeBron. I know they're in win mode, and you said he would be the third best option on that team. I wouldn't give Tyrese Maxey up in that trade for LeBron. No offense, but Tyrese Maxey carried that team most of the playoffs this year when they couldn't find scoring from James Harden. I know they blew the lead, but he proved himself to be a good player. And James Harden is not leaving, but he's almost out that door. I would not, like I said, you said win now. I'm not buying that trade. I think the Sixers would get robbed of their what's it called, of their future pick, because they don't have another point guard that plays like Maxey does coming out, and he's coming off the bench. You guys gotta remember that too. And Tobias, you said Tobias, I understand. Yeah, but in that one, sorry, nah, I don't like it. Lakers would I think Lakers would get a little bit better with Maxey playing point guard in LA, and they could do a lot more with that. So that's what I think about it. It is not because I'm like LeBron. I just don't think that team would win in Philly. Like I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. Did you? Sorry, I was like looking at something. Did you say that there would be picks involved, Amos?
No,
Okay.
it's straight.
If that's
LeBron James, Tyrese Maxey, and
so,
Tobias Harris.
if that's a trade, there's no way in hell LA's doing LeBron for Maxey, because at that point, essentially, Tobias Harris is a filling guy. Yeah, he averages 20, but he doesn't do anything special. How old is he? He's like 30-something years old. He's been in the league for a while. I mean, he was on the Magic. That's when his name became relevant. Then he went to the Clippers, and now he's had long stints at each place. Let's see, Tobias Harris.
So KJ, so while you look that up real quick, so just to be clear, Efren's saying it's bad for the Lakers. You're saying it's bad. Sorry. Efren's saying it's bad for the 76ers. I'm sorry. Yeah. Whereas KJ, right now, you're taking the stance that it would be bad for the Lakers.
I think it'd be bad for both teams because, yeah, James Harden, they're already talking about him going back to Houston. And now you got just LeBron and Joel Embiid, where, yes, Joel Embiid has been more reliable than Anthony Davis, but Austin Reeves is better than anybody else on that Sixers team, aside from Joel Embiid. If you're trading Ray, Maxey, Harris, and Harden's gone, even if Harden's there, I don't think he's better than LeBron. So LeBron would be the second best player, and he would still be taking on a bunch of the load. I think LeBron. Honestly, I think the Lakers just ran into a better Nuggets team, and hopefully D'Angelo Russell will play better. And I know he's not that big of a factor, but Mo Bamba will be able to play next year. If I'm the Lakers team, I do minimal moves, not something super crazy. And then for the Sixers, you got to try and trade James Harden before he walks. And other than that, I get rid of Tobias Harris. He's been there too long. I mean, yeah, I'm looking at it now. He's only 30. It feels like he's been in the league forever, but he hasn't done anything. I mean, it says a day ago, this is a Sixers wire. This is their new stuff, but I don't know where the ranking came from, but he's the 92nd best player in the NBA. That's not that good for a championship team or a championship contending team if that's your third option. So, yeah, I don't like to trade for either team.
That's fair, guys. So let me just jump in real quick and counter you guys real quick, or not or whatever, just in my opinion. So I guess I'll just say with KJ first. So you're not trading Tobias Harris in a sense of, oh, he's a piece. You're not looking at Tobias Harris like that at all. You're literally trading him for his salary cap. That's all it is. So you're getting Tyrese Maxey. That's the main piece you're getting if you're the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be really too worried about Tobias Harris, like, oh, he's not enough, because Tyrese Maxey, you're getting arguably a top 5 to 6 point guard going forward. You know, so that's just the main thing for the Lakers.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I know that for that trade you put Tobias Harris in there for filler, and that's where it's like the Lakers would never do LeBron for Tyrese Maxey. Because I don't know if he's top 5 point guard. Like,
no, currently no.
I mean even in the next 5 years, when Curry's gone, when Dame's gone, I don't think he would be a top 5 point guard. Because I mean, you got Scoot Henderson coming into the league right now. You got De'Aaron Fox who's going off. I mean, we're not going to go into a whole list. I think I think he'd be like a.
I'm going to wait to give Henderson, until I want to see what he can do. I know Tyrese Maxey is 22 years old. And he's averaging, 22, or was it 20 a game as 20? Oh, no, he's not 22. What is he, 21? Let me look real quick. I have it right in front of me. He's 20. All I'm saying is he's 21 years old, and he's already averaging, what was he averaging this past season? Like 20 points a game, and that was as a third option, right? So to me, I'm just saying, like, for the Lakers, you look at it like, oh, I have an all-star guy at the very least going forward, and he's only 21. So I don't know. I just don't think it would be as bad as you're trying to make it seem to be. I mean, for all we know, how long is LeBron going to play with the Lakers for, KJ? Maybe one more season, maybe two. So I guess I just think it's a better for the Lakers than you do.
I think it would be better if it was next season, next offseason. Yeah, for the Lakers, because it'd be next offseason when Bronny's coming in, LeBron's going to go wherever he goes. You could try and run it back one more time with LeBron.
No, and see, KJ, I think I don't. So to be clear, I don't necessarily think the Lakers. I'm not even positive the Lakers would do this, because they might think they would be worse, and they're already going for the championship, the championship, right? Whereas for me, this trade idea, it's not to be better. I'm not getting Maxey and Tobias Harris necessarily thinking we're going to be better. I'm getting them thinking we're going to be hopefully around the same level. But I also know we'll be a lot more, from a salary cap standpoint, we'll be a lot more flexible, on top of having a guy like Tyrese Maxey, who I believe, again, is going to be an all-star, maybe not an every year type of all-star, but I do think he's going to be an all-star type of guy going forward. And again, he's only 21, right? So that's why personally I kind of agreed with it. If anything, I would agree with Efren. I would think from a Sixer standpoint, it'd be a little harder. But I just think the Lakers or the Sixers are just ready to win. And yeah, you can argue LeBron's still better than Harden, but I still think from a workload standpoint, he would be the third guy. I think he'd be ready for that. I mean, he is ready for that. It's all good though, guys. I just think I do think there's some reasons for both sides, but just some good stuff to talk about. I do have another trade option for you guys to hate on. So you guys ready for it, or unless you guys had something more to say, Efren?
That's you. You read my mind about LeBum. He's not that good. So
I have a trade that works really well. It's Miami Heat get Zion Williamson and New Orleans Pelicans get Duncan Robinson. I think that one's a great one. And it says trade successful, so and it says you did not affect the winning percentage of this team, so it's an even trade, in my opinion. Just,
if you just don't want it now. You don't want Zion. Hey, you don't want Zion Williams in Miami, bro.
They eat light out in Miami. He'll be fine.
You don't want all the drama that man's going through right now.
That's off the court. It's fine. He didn't do anything illegal. He just
remember what we said about what the arena was going to be called. They're going to be sharing. They're going to be asking him to do videos too, probably.
Yeah, he'll be the mascot. What's your other trade name is?
So, I already know you guys aren't gonna love this, but basically, so what it is it's the Portland Trailblazers to Toronto Raptors. All right, and so if I'm a Trailblazer, if I'm in management, my ideal situation, I don't want to trade. What is it? The number 3 pick, right? That's your most valuable pick. That's arguably your most valuable player going forward, right? That's like the future of your franchise, the number 3 pick. So I'm not going to trade that, and I'm not trying to trade Dame, right? That's your best player. Arguably the best player in the history of the Trailblazers. So I'm going to try and get Dame some help, okay? And so what I do is I go to Canada to get him that help, all right? So I think we'd probably agree, maybe not, that the Toronto Raptors are in rebuild mode, right? They lost the coach, they fired their coach. You lose your Van Fleet to free agency, and they have, most of their best players are young, other than Pascal Siakam, right? And so you trade Pascal to Portland, all right? And now if you're Portland, you have a core of Dame, Pascal, who was averaging I want to say 24 a game last year. He's your 2 option, obviously. You have a core of Dame, Pascal, and Jeremy Grant. And that's your main 3. And then obviously if you're Portland, you're ideally looking for like a shooting guard in the sense of like a Caldwell Pope. I want to say he's a free agent, but that would be your main 3. That would be your core. That would be the all-star. You can get Dame. And look, guys, I know what you guys are thinking. Is that going to be enough to win, right? Is that going to be enough to beat the Nuggets? And I get it, arguably not. They certainly have to be healthy. But my argument would be you're getting a guy like Pascal, who's going to be with your franchise now for at least 2 years. You're getting Dame, who I know we've been saying this a lot today, but he's a guy who is in win now mode, right? 33 years old, going to be 34. Like, he has to win now. And so you get him a guy like Pascal, who is arguably a top 25 player. And so, he's another fellow all-star, top 20 player. And so if you get him Pascal, you get him Jeremy Grant, who is, mostly a defender. That takes care of your front court just like that. And you already have your point guards. So now you just need some wings. And I guess at the end of the day, Portland, it's not the best market. So we know they're not going to be signing guys to free agency. So they really do have to swing trades, right? And maybe you can get someone better if you include that top 3 pick. So I do acknowledge that. But if you're Portland and you're trying to keep the best of both worlds, you want to keep Dame, you want to keep your number 3 pick and get an all-star, I think Siakam would do it, or Pascal would do it. And so who you're trading, though, is you're trading Anthony Simons, you're trading Nurkic, and you're trading, I know his last name Sharp. I want to say it's Shannon Sharp from Kentucky. I know he's from
Shadon
Sharp. Kentucky, who I really like, by the way. I think he was the number 7 pick last year. Number 7 pick, one and done. And man, so from a Raptor standpoint, this kid Sharp, he only played 1 year, so you don't have a lot of data on him. But he was a lottery pick, number 7 guy. That's to me the long-term guy you really want. Whereas Anthony Simon, yeah, he's young. He's only like 22, 23 years old too. He was averaging, I want to say, 21, 22 a game. But if you just look from a PER standpoint, it's not the best. And from what I've seen from him, he's never been a defensive guy, right? And he's not an elite ball distributor. He's more of a combo guard. But to me, if you're the Raptors, you end up trading a 29-year-old and you're gaining a guy like Shadon Sharp, who was a lottery pick. You're gaining someone like Simons, who's averaging 20 a game, and he's only 22. So you're getting two dynamic guys. Like me and KJ have said, you're getting Nurkic, who is a very solid, dependable, durable center. And obviously you're taking on his contract as well. But to me, you're getting three very, very valuable pieces for an all-star, who's 29, who's going to be on who's going to be 30, who's going to be on a declining team. So I don't know, guys. I think I guess maybe there's one side I think might be getting too much, and I'll share that afterwards. But I think for the most part, it's decent on both sides. We'll start with KJ this time. KJ, what do you think?
I think it's terrible, just because of the fact that I don't think Portland's in a state where they can keep trying to retool for Dame. They just need to rebuild. That it's just at this point, unless you're gonna, the team is not in a situation to have three all-stars or three like great players. Yes, Pascal's good. Jeremy Grant's not super great. You're not beating Denver with that team. I don't think Dame likes that. I think that's more of a retooling aspect, and you just need to start over. That, and for the Raptors, you're getting a lot for one player. You're getting a lot. So I feel like it's really, really one-sided, and I feel like for Portland, they just need to wrap it up and let Dame walk. What do you think,
everyone?
Man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I liked it at first. Without Nurkic, it would be better. I would leave Nurkic in Portland, because that's helping out Dame more, because you can move Pascal to the power forward position and leave Nurkic as a center. You're not looking for a center. And you're starting five, like you said. You bring in a veteran or a free agent that can play the small forward position or the shooting guard position.
It'd have to be shooting guard and small forward, yeah. But you're not. They're never going to expect a superstar. But I'm saying you would get a guy. You have the $10 million. The mid level. So everyone has a mid level. So you get some pretty.
And I see that's the only thing. I would take out Nurkic. I would still send the other two guys, take out Nurkic, and give a future draft pick if I had to. Because I know they're going to want something like that, because Anthony Simons and what's his name are not all-star caliber players, but you still want something for the future for him. So that's the only thing I would change on that. But if they would want Nurkic, I'm on KJ's side. You're giving too much to Toronto for one player, and I would want Dame to leave too, because without a good center like Nurkic, not good, like he's good, decent center that he can do stuff. Like, you ain't winning, because then you're looking for a center to stop people in the West. You got people like Anthony Davis, Jokic. You got some good centers that are playing that you gotta build for you, and that will kind of linger you. So that's what I said. So it's a good if you take out Nurkic, you're good. If you leave Nurkic in there, no.
Well, who was in the trade? Who else was in the trade? Because I did the ESPN trade machine, and it says it fails if you put Nurkic in.
Yeah, no. No. It's Simons, Nurkic, Sharp, but it fails. Look at the money though. So all you have to do, KJ, is cut. It's basically $200,000 basically. So
okay.
For some reason it was working yesterday, but now all of a sudden you have to cut to it. But as you see, there's a lot of players you can just cut for the minimum basically. So it's basically the basic.
And like I said, but like I said, it's Without Nurkic, I think it's and you add a draft pick, cool.
Yeah.
But with Nurkic, no, I wouldn't
So
say Nurkic.
And then like especially like how does that work fit wise? You're gonna wanna play Simons and you're gonna want to play Sharp, but you got Scotty Barnes, you got OG,
Oh yeah, OG.
and you got Gary Trent, who's a pretty good wing, who was averaging almost I think 20 for them. So now you got to put one of them to the bench.
No, you're gonna let Simons. You're rebuilding anyway, so you're gonna give Simons an opportunity to be a point guard. And if he's more of a combo guy, then that's fine. But you're in a rebuilding year anyway. So you guess what? If he sucks, you get a higher pick, and then you realize, oh, we need to move him or trade one of those guys. So
you get Simons. Then who would you start the two? Gary Trent.
Yeah, Zach. Because let's not act like Shane Sharp has been starting this whole time. Anyways, he's only 19, right? I'm cool with him being sixth man, and he's gonna get a lot of minutes. You know, he's gonna get a lot of minutes being got off the bench. So, but if I can defend myself for finally, and I do like your guys' responses. Really, I do. You guys said a lot of good stuff. So I can't argue too much. So I'll go with Efren first. So to your point, Efren, I did actually originally want to leave Nurkic off, but it wasn't the salary caps weren't able to equal basically, you know. So that's kind of why I did it. And when I did say, oh, there's probably this one team that's probably getting them a little bit more, I did think like you, the Raptors probably do get a little bit more. Maybe I can take Nurkic off and put in like Little.
It works now.
And
for Simons and Sharp for Siakam, it works.
Okay, yeah, for sure. So then I can take so then either way, I would probably take off Nurkic then. But as far as KJ though, so either way, I think so. Then Efren, you didn't think the trade was as bad. But so I do, and for the most part, Efren, I do agree. I think I probably did give the Raptors maybe a little bit too much. As far as KJ though, oh no, sorry, going back to you, Efren though, I'd also say, yeah, Pascal is not the ideal big brunt center. And he started out as more of a power forward, but he played center last year. He was basically a center last year. He was mainly a center, you know, because they had what's his face Barnes a lot as power forward, and so to me, because you have a guy like Jeremy Grant, and KJ didn't say this, but he kind of said it's like Jeremy Grant is not an ideal third option, but he's a really good defender, you know? And so he'd be that guy, him and Siakam as your two bigs. I'd feel great about that from a defensive standpoint. And at the end of the day, if we're worried about Jokic killing us, well, guess what? 28 other teams or 29 other teams, when I see Bam, right, probably the best defender having issues with Jokic, everyone's going to have issues with Jokic, right? So to me, I don't know. I'm not too worried about Pascal playing center. And so as far as KJ goes, I just look at it from a standpoint of, so like KJ says, it's a bad trade. But like, I just think it's a standpoint of Dame wants to stay. He's going to tell you who wants to stay, right? We haven't seen him tell you who wants to leave. So,
well, but he's throwing out like those subliminal messages throughout Twitter and all that the last 2 years where he's like, oh, loyalty shows, all this other stuff. Basically talking about the team not getting them help.
But now they're trying to give him some help. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, KJ, it's all fair if you don't like Pascal enough. And like I said to you guys, do I think it's enough? Probably not. But I think you have to give him help. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard when you're saying, oh well, he's. I mean, if we're gonna give him some help, we're trying to give him some help, right? So to me, it's you ideally want to keep him with the franchise because you know your fans want to keep him. And to me, again, from Portland, I don't want to trade that number 3 pick. I'm not trading that number 3 pick because that's the best piece they have other than Dame. You know, I'd argue almost it's more valuable than Dame simply because you're talking about a 19-year-old who could be a stud versus a 33-year-old, right? So I guess I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of you're keeping literally your two most valuable pieces on your team. And like, yeah, it was a good amount to give up. So I don't disagree with that. But I guess for me, for example, like Anthony Simons, I'm not nearly as high on Anthony Simons as I am with a Tyrese Maxey, for example, you know? And so to me, Simons, he's a good combo scorer. And if you're the Raptors, yeah, you give him a chance to show you he can be a point guard, especially because of his size. But to me, if I'm the Trailblazers, I'm not necessarily losing Simons personally. And so to me, again, Shaedon Sharp to me personally would be the hardest person to lose, but I could lose him to get an all-star level type of guy who's going to give Dame the help he deserves. But I will say again, at the end of the day, You said it right. You said it right away, KJ. Is that team going to be enough?
Well,
Probably not. And
even then,
have.
I'm looking at it. Jeremy Grant. I mean, their bench is ass. If you take away Shadon Sharp, yeah, you get a third pick, but your next best players are Cam Reddish, Kevin Knox, Thibault, and Nasir Little, and three of those guys and Jeremy Grant are also on the end of their contracts.
Right.
It just makes it.
I have a question.
Hold on. But you're going to keep Jeremy Grant. They've already talked about keeping him. And if you don't keep him, KJ, guess what? That's 21 million that you can add by getting someone. So either way,
yeah,
the Grant thing is fine. I mean, and again, you're not arguing with anybody, right? We all agree that team's not necessarily enough, but that's the Portland Trailblazers roster for you. That's been them the last few years. They haven't built it successfully. And so that's my point. Dane, until he finally tells you he wants to leave, you got to try to build him someone. You got to try to give him some acquisition, and you can sit with this roster all you want and hope for Shaedon Sharpe to get better, but Dame's just going to keep getting older and older. And so to me, you got to make a move. Yes, I think at the end of the day, I'd probably say you trade Dame, and you really do go with the Shaedon Sharpe. You go with the number 3 pick, and you get something really good for Dame. But I just don't think, Dame, until he says it, the organization and fans want that. So I just was trying to do something best for that organization. That's all. Go ahead, Efren.
You guys keep on talking. I'm trying to see something very fast.
The only thing I would say with that is it's getting to the point where even the fans are like, trade Dame so he can have some success. And like you said, he's 30 some years old. How many more times are you going to give up your future to possibly get Dame a ring when if you had, even if you keep Nurkic, you got Dame, whoever at the 2, Jeremy Grant, Pascal, and your Nurkic going against someone in the playoffs. How many times are you going to pick that team to win, Amos? I mean, even this year, let's go. Would you pick them against Denver? No. Against the Suns? No. The Lakers, the Grizzlies? That's 4 teams that you're not picking them to beat. At least me personally.
I mean,
I'm not picking them to beat any of those teams.
Probably not. But again, we're just assuming that Portland's trying to make a move. A lot of those teams you named aren't messing with the Nuggets anyways. I mean, we literally just bashed the Suns, and your name's, it's a different argument, KJ, so I'm not saying you're wrong by saying the Suns. Obviously, I get what you're saying, but we just bashed the Suns, right? So there's a lot of teams that are question marks heading into the season. That's why we think there's going to be so much player movement, because a lot of these teams aren't on par. I mean, hell, it's just funny how much high we are on the Nuggets right now, and I get it. They had but we didn't see. I mean, I saw this coming. I called it right, but no one saw it coming. So you just never know. You just never know.
KJ, KJ, do you have the NBA trade thing up right now?
Yeah.
Can you do one with Sacramento and Portland?
Yeah.
You go ahead, Efren.
Send Dame to Sacramento. For Malik Monk
and Barnes. Who? Sorry.
Malik Monk and somebody off the bench. Lyles.
He's a free agent.
He's a free agent.
Oh, that was a free agent?
Yeah, that wouldn't work anyways. Dame's got 42. Malik Monk only has 9 mil, and Lyles only has 2 mil. You would have to send Sabonis, Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, or Rashad Holmes.
No. But you're not going
to. Hold on. Send Harrison Barnes and
you're not doing Sabonis.
And Kevin
Harrison
Huerter.
Barnes and Malik Monk.
That's it, yeah. So Barnes, Huerter, and Malik Monk, it works for Dame Lillard, but
that's the thing. I don't want to give up.
If you just did Malik Monk and Harrison Barnes, you'd still need almost $7.5 million to be able to get for Sacramento to get Dame.
But Dame would have to switch positions, right?
Yeah, because then you would have because you have De'Aaron Fox.
But I mean, if you're Sacramento, I think you'd have to do that if they offered you that. I mean, Barnes is a declining player. Kevin Huerter is okay. He's a good, solid role player. Malik Monk's probably the guy I'm highest on.
Yeah, right now. He's the
Yeah,
one
this-
who did
He's their second best scorer, but he comes off the bench. That's the main key thing about him. Is Dame's not going to want to come off the bench, and now you got a backcourt of Dame and De'Aaron Fox. And I don't think Dame, like, especially with the last few injuries, I don't think Dame could keep up with Sacramento's pace.
That's true. That's what I was trying to think, like, because scoring wise, because you know how they were trying to find scores.
From a talent standpoint, they'd be better though.
Yeah, from a
Okay.
talent standpoint. I mean,
Yeah, I'm
shit,
saying-
if you throw in Kevin Huerter,
But that would help out Portland too, right?
no, both teams would get worse. Sacramento would lose 4 wins, and Blazers would lose 11 wins.
Efren, unless you have any other ideas, let's get to this Jaw news.
Yeah.
And next time we can have you guys come up with some trades. So I give my
Well,
opinion.
yeah, because like for me, I want to talk about Zion, but there's no like destination for Zion. Like nobody knows. People are saying Houston, but I don't see it.
I'm telling you right now, bro. I wouldn't. To me, I'd be so afraid of Zion, right? Because first off, he has a pretty good deal right now, right? He already signed didn't he sign like a big contract? Like
I don't know.
last year?
On here it says he's only making 13 mil, so it's not even updated here.
Don't worry about that because it's gonna be
Let's
taken away from him anyways.
But let's
Yeah.
be honest though. Zion. My problem.
Mama drama.
They're not going to get what they should get for Zion, right? Like to me, I'd have to hold on to Zion, bro. Like he has to really break down for me to finally trade his ass, man. Like I need to.
Well, no.
No.
I think his new it says he's got poison pill provisions, which means he can't be traded for people who have the same contract as him because he's about to go up. So it says on June 28th is when his new contract kicks in, and we'll know how much he's making.
Okay.
To be able to trade him. But yeah, like you got Zion who might be on the move. You got Dame. I just saw a thing. It just popped up when I think Efren was talking. It said the Celtics do not intend to trade Jaylen Brown, and they plan to give him the supermax. So now you got the Celtics doing dumb stuff.
I've been doing plenty of trades with the Celtics with like Robert Williams, Marcus Smart, and either like Dirk for like one guy, but I just can't. It's hard to find, man.
But yeah. Let's move on. Let's move on to this Jaw stuff.
Yeah.
So I know you guys.
All I gotta say about that, and I'll start this one off, guys.
Well, here let me give the context real quick before you.
Okay.
So yeah, a couple days ago now, or maybe it was yesterday morning, we've seen that Ja received a 25 game suspension for brandishing a firearm for the second time after having talked with Adam Silver and done his whole interview with Jalen Rose. Efren, what do you think about the 25 games?
So I know why. Two things. I know 25 games, let's be real, guys. After you said that you wouldn't do it again, you do it again. You have that little kid mentality. Of course, you didn't commit a crime. I understand that. But, man, how many times are you going to make a mistake? How many times you're getting off easy? What, first was 8 games?
Yeah.
Second offense, 25 games?
Well, no. The first time was like...
No, it was only 8 games.
Well, it was only 8 games from the league, but remember they were sitting him beforehand so that the league wouldn't give him such a harsh punishment. But yeah, eight for games from the league.
Yeah, but 25 games from the league, bro, like, let's be real. I know, like I said, I know you didn't commit a crime. I know you kid. Man, I don't know. Right? At the end of the day, I don't like it. It's punishment. Yeah, you're not doing nothing wrong, but at the same time, you're talking out of your ass, not doing anything, getting in trouble for no reason. And Ja got to get smarter than that. You ain't. I don't know. Me personally, I don't know Ja like that, but I don't care who you are. I feel like you about it, you ain't gonna be doing dumb stuff like that. Just because you have money, you're showing that you can get away with stuff. I think that the only reason that Adam Schefter didn't put the not Adam Schefter, Adam Silver didn't put the boot is because, like you said, no crime was committed, and no backlashes. You're gonna be hearing, "Wow, why is he getting so much?" Bro, we've had players get suspended for what 40 games for fucking smoking weed or whatever.
We had
And
what's it? I saw that I can't remember what it was, but Gilbert Arenas basically got double, and it was a locker room dispute. It wasn't online. It wasn't.
he wasn't showing anything. He wasn't.
He pulled it out,
But
but no, it wasn't online.
yeah, nothing was. And you got like, I just don't know, man. Sorry to tell you, I don't really have words for it. I just know, Josh. I don't know. It's like, what happens if he gets caught again? Oh, now it's a whole season. Or what
Well,
happens?
and for me, the thing that pissed me off was I saw a video and it showed him. He decided after, I don't know if it was after the first time or the second time, but decided to post another video with a gun, but showing that it was a lighter and he was lighting a cupcake with it to prove that he didn't have an actual firearm with him. But that's not the point. The point is that he's showing the image of a firearm on he's endorsing it on his Instagram, basically. I just,
Kids will do it.
huh?
Like, for kids, like a lot of kids look up to this guy. Let's be real.
Well, and I
Like,
know. Go ahead, Efren. My bad.
but you have the right. Like, I want you to interrupt me because I don't know if I'm wrong for saying this. Well, we just had what happened with the kid from Bama. Remember we were talking about that, and now we have Ja doing this in the NBA. What is that showing? No offense to anybody, but what is that showing to anybody? Like, oh wow, I gotta, bro. If you ain't hood, stay. You ain't doing nothing. You play basketball for a living. You're an NBA superstar. You make money. Like, show these kids that they can make it out. They can do something with their lives, and they don't have to go back to that old life. You understand? Some guys are about it. Some guys are not. I don't know how. I don't know his childhood. I've been seeing memes about him. You understand? I don't have nothing bad. I remember. I love this guy, man. This guy was the second coming of Derrick Rose. That's the way I look at him. And now, I don't want to say anything bad about him, but at the same time, what are you doing? You got out, and hopefully he learns. Which, honestly, 25 games, he's not gonna learn.
Yeah.
In his head, he's still gonna think that he got away with it again.
Especially after he beat up a 17-year-old and then proceeded to get a Nike deal. He's not gonna. 25 games of NBA money is not gonna affect him.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I'm just like, I want to talk about it a little bit, but it's like I don't have really words to say about it. I might be wrong, I might be taking it hard on him, but we always say when we get criticized, all of us, I'm making a race thing, when we all get criticized, he's making it easier for people to sorry my language, for people to pick on him, to show like why people say stuff what they say. You understand?
It's I know you're at a loss for words, so I'm just gonna start with it. It's
Yeah.
to me, I mean, I know you guys know I watch a lot of Undisputed, and Shannon Sharp's been saying it. He's like, at this point, you can't even be disappointed in Ja. You're disappointed in the league for one. 8 games was not enough for the first time, especially all the things leading up to it, the Indiana Pacers situation, the mall situation, his sister's volleyball game situation. 8 games was not enough just because the Grizzlies decided to sit him for like 6 games.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, the black community, like, they're all like, oh, well, he didn't do anything illegal. It's just them trying to tear down another black man. It's like, at what point are we going to start holding these people accountable for their actions? Like, yeah, he didn't do anything illegal, but he's losing, and they're gonna say, "Oh, the NBA has so much money." He's still losing the NBA money. He's he's ruining his own image. It's just, I'm kind of at a loss for words too. I don't believe that 25 games was enough. I think at minimum half the season. But but then you like run the risk of like Memphis is such a small market. This is probably their only window to win. Because I mean, Jaren Jackson can leave soon. I mean, you got all these pieces that just fit, like even down to Conchar and them. They just fit. Where you're not going to get something like this in Memphis again. I can see Adam Silver looking at it from that point, but you got to make a spectacle out of him. I mean, the NFL has this problem. There was just a dude that was talking about Ja. He was a Patriots. Is it Jack Jones? A Patriots DB. Right. He was talking about Ja. He just got arrested for firearms. The Raiders. We had Damon Arnett get arrested for firearms. You have all these. It's going to turn out like the NFL, and then it's going to mess up. It's the same thing they were talking about with Ben Simmons. The reason with him sitting out and stuff, it's going to mess up the CBA for future players. You're going to get non-guaranteed contracts because you can't trust that these players are going to be able to do what they need to do and be professional. But
like you said, you're right. Amos, what do you think? Are we wrong? Or I just want to hear your opinion on this. What do you think? Like, I know 25 games.
I'm just letting you guys talk, and that's why I haven't jumped in, letting you guys finish your thoughts. And I think I definitely stand kind of with Alan. Like, I'm just over it, right? And it seems like you guys are, a little bit over it as well. For me, it's just, we all have our responsibilities. For him to be at such a high platform, and to be continually using his platform for doing these silly things like this is just disappointing, and I've agreed with you guys with everything. Maybe the only thing I'd slightly disagree with is, I don't think the commissioner should be looking out for Memphis, because at the end of the day, while it's not Memphis's fault, it sucks for the city and it is a small market. At the end of the day, though, it's fair or not, it's that organization's responsibility to control their players, to teach their players to. I mean, you guys have heard about this. A lot of times when you get brought to an organization, each team has a kind of a summit where they tell you their standards, teach you what's right, not right. So at the end of the day, for me, it's, look, they can say whatever they want, and you're a grown man. You're going to do what you want. So it's harsh, but at the end of the day, it's his responsibility. But it always falls back to the team. And so for me, it's tiring. I also know, we're not any different guys. If I were to do that on Instagram or whatever, our job could easily, see this and be like, hey, that's not a good representation of us, especially if we were wearing their work equipment, right? So at the end of the day, there's so many jobs we could be doing this in, and we're getting fired, right? We're not getting suspended for a little bit of games. So it's just disappointing. I agree, 25 wasn't enough. It probably should have been at least 40, 42, because I forget which one of you guys said it, but he could easily be looking at it like, man, I just got away with this, and I'm sure he's probably not looking at it from a villain standpoint of ha ha ha, but how much is it really teaching him, and it's a shame that he potentially has to have a third strike for them to actually give him a major penalty. And so, it is on the league as well. So, but yeah, I'm over it. I agree with you guys for the most part. It's a shame that it's even came to this, bro, Matt, we've all had our hoop dreams, what I'm saying? We've all had our sport dreams, and it's like, I know, KJ, I know you would give anything to be in this spot. I would give anything to be in this spot. So it's just wild, man. Everyone has different priorities. And so for me, there's certain things that, I might be lazy with, but when it comes to being the best at the best, being in this spotlight, I'd be doing so much different things than him. But at the end of the day, we're all different.
Well, and yeah, two things I want to say to that. One, let it be David Stern who gave out this suspension, he would not see the NBA in court again.
He was here for 2 years.
Well, that's what I was gonna. That was the other thing I was gonna say. Is like Efren said it. Like you get people get suspended for drugs. I mean, Tyreek Evans had to sit out for 2 whole years. OJ Mayo had to sit out for 2 whole years because of drug things. And it's like this is worse than a drug. They're smoking in their free time versus promoting guns on there, and it wouldn't be as harsh of a penalty if there wasn't so much stuff going on with gun violence in the U.S.
Yeah, and like I told everybody, like right now that we're talking about it, like I told you guys, Jaw was the what's it called, the guy I felt, man, this dude can do great things. Remember I had him like being in my top 5 for a while right now, and now him doing all this, he's just ruining it. Like he's just making himself, not his, but his community good and bad. We always talk about what happens if the next thing we hear is Jaw shot this guy or Jaw did this. What are they gonna say? Wow, they're gonna wow. Well, why did the NBA do this, or why did the team do that? Oh, why didn't Jaw think about the situation that he put himself in? That's another thing. Like they gotta stop babying players.
Well, in that rehab facility he checked into for 3 days or whatever. I mean, that was a publicity stunt. That one didn't really mean anything. You knew it was going to happen again after that.
Like we said, we've talked. All of us have talked about all these kids that are coming out. Just that kid alone, the kid from Bama. Remember, guys, we talked about the kid from Bama. Yeah, and he had really nothing. Look what happened.
All he did was drive a car. In terms of the police report, all he did was drive the car with the weapon in it. And he's getting death threats during the tournament.
So now, guys, just a couple of little things that I want to talk about. I know KJ, I know you've been studying baseball here and there. I want you guys to look up this kid, De La Cruz from the Cincinnati Reds. This kid, oh my God, this kid is amazing, bro. This kid is fast, can hit the ball like there's no tomorrow. Man, you guys just gotta watch this kid. The Reds are on an 8-game winning streak because of him, and I just want you to look at the talent. Hey, KJ, you would like this kid right here would show you like, hey, this kid can play. And KJ, I just want you to, what?
Are you able to show YouTube videos on there?
No.
No, okay, never mind. So to Efren's point,
we would get copyright striked.
Yeah, that was the thing. So to Efren's point, yeah, I mean, I wanted to say he entered the year as a top 3, top 5 prospect, and they called him up right away. Efren, did you see? I think it was the other day where he hit it was basically an infield. It should have been an infield out where the first baseman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he slid dove for it behind first base, and it's usually a routine play, right? Yeah. And this kid was so fast that he actually outran the first baseman to the base, and he slid and barely beat him. I want to say it was a tie, but obviously, as we know, tie goes to the runner in baseball. But yeah, this kid, man, he's and then it was interesting too because they're playing against the Houston Astros, and as we all know, their team or their fan base, they see a lot of good teams, right? Because they've had a few championships, and everybody just kind of gasped when he did that because you just don't see that very often, That kind of shows how special this kid is, man, as far as his rare abilities.
What else is on there? Yeah, but that's pretty much all I have for today. I just want you guys to look at that.
He's hitting 273 right now, and he's already had his first home run. He's only had about 44 at bats, so it's still pretty early. But yeah, if you guys are checking out the Reds, check out Ellie De La Cruz. And then I'll just also add this real quick then, if we're just going to do a quick little baseball summary. The Tampa Bay Rays, man, are still absolutely on fire. They're the number 1 team in the league right now, just dominating. I want to say their record is
47 and, I think 47 and 18. Oh,
That would
13. Okay. They're way ahead. Like that division that they're in, everybody has a winning record mostly, except the bottom team, and they're all competing. And it's amazing what they're doing this year.
For them doing that division, right, Efren?
Yeah, you got the Boston Red Sox, you got the Yankees, the Baltimore Orioles. Man, you got the Toronto Blue Jays, all in that one division, and man, one of those teams is not going to make the playoffs, and there's 5 teams in the division. So, man,
yeah, Tampa Bay is 51-24. 51-24 right now. So and it's crazy too because their home record is 31-7, but their away record is only 20-17. So I mean, they're so.
Do you have the MLB? Can you look up the MLB on yours? The division race, and just put wild card. Who's the wild card teams?
In what, the AL or NL?
I'm gonna have one of you guys do both. I want KJ just to look at it really fast.
Wild card standings for the MLB. Wild cards right now for what is the American League?
Yeah.
Would be Baltimore, Angels, Houston, and Yankees.
So it's the top 3.
Oh no, those are the wild card teams. The division leaders are Tampa, Texas, and Minnesota, and then the 4 wild cards are Baltimore, Angels, Houston, and Yankees.
So there's somebody in there that. Oh man.
Didn't they change? Oh, it's because Houston and the Yankees are tied.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah.
But do you see also? So I'm gonna give you a lesson right now, KJ. So you said Baltimore, Yankees?
Angels, and then Houston and Yankees are tied.
Okay, so just know those 4 teams right there, they're both. So 2 of them are in the division where the team has like 13 games ahead of them. The other 2 are in the Mariners division. That's how you can see how competitive that wild card is going to be, because you're going to have to win a lot of games just to get that wild card in the AL. Now in the NL, the National League, that's the Giants and all them.
It's Miami, San Francisco, and the Dodgers for the 3 wild card.
And they're all winning records too, huh?
Yeah, and Philadelphia's 1 game behind. Cincinnati's 2 games behind LA.
And one thing I can tell you about, and I don't know if anyone wants to jump in here, but last year Cincinnati was the worst team in the MLB. A lot could change in baseball quick, just like we talking about basketball.
Well, because didn't you guys say there's no caps or salary cap? So
no salary cap.
Yeah,
that's why the Yankees are so good. They have a lot of great players. The Padres have a lot of great. And look at the Padres, San Diego Padres. Where are they at?
They are 3.5 games behind the Dodgers.
Okay, that's bad when they have 4 of the best players playing for their team on that team.
Damn.
Cincinnati had by the way, Cincinnati had the 3rd worst record, but they were pretty shitty. But they were still bad regardless. The Nationals had the worst record, and of course, Efren knows all about the team that had the 2nd worst record again.
Hey man, I don't know. All I know is that the Mariners are starting to look like the Atlanta Hawks with that 35-35 record. Win one, lose one, win one, lose one. Their last 4.
That's how it's really been, bro. It's been bad, man. We can't get above 2.
So much hype for the Mariners this year, but you can't blame them, man. They've been in a lot of tough games, but like I told you. So one thing I want to ask you, KJ, and this is me because you're learning about baseball. Do you think? How do I say this? So a lot of these baseball players, they don't come up right away. Okay? They take like a year or 2 to come up. Some do come up right away, It's not like the NBA. As soon as you get drafted, you're probably going to be playing in the NBA. You're not going to go no G League.
Yeah.
In your situation, what do you think they should the NBA? I know they have those G League players, and they can send them down to. Should they start doing that a lot more often for these new players coming in, or should they just be like how they have it right now? Like instead of trying to develop, because that's why I feel like some of these rookies they don't develop because they're like NFL. They get put in right away, and then there's so much pressure on them that, damn, man, you didn't live up to the hype. When I could have sent you down for a little bit, you could play and then come back up. Would you think that would have helped out a lot of NBA players?
I think it really just depends on the player. Because, I mean, if you look at it from. So, most players in the NBA who go to the G League, they are rookies that were on contending teams. And Amos said it. Christian Braun was a big piece on why the Nuggets won this year. Mm-hmm. And if you send him straight to the G League just because you're like, oh, you'll get more touches, he wouldn't have been as ready for the NBA pace because everybody says nothing's as fast as NBA pace. Even the G League is not as fast. So then you get to the playoffs and you get to this point. One, you have to decide halfway through the season, is he going to be on the two-way contract or are you going to sign him for the whole year? And then now he has half the games that he had to get accustomed to NBA speed. Whereas like with Miami, we had Nikola Jovic in the G League almost half the year. And it was good for his development. It just, for me, it depends on the player. I mean, how the thing with that is, though, I think after 2 years, or it's after 2 years or after a certain age point, you can no longer, a player can decide they don't want to go down to the G League. They're like, I'll just stay on the bench. Is there an age limit or a year, like a pro limit?
For baseball players?
Yeah.
No, there is no age limit that I know of.
I didn't even think there was an age limit for G League. They must have changed it then.
No. So there's an age limit to where a player can say, hey, I'm not going to play in the G League.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
they could decide to say no.
So, if you were asking as far as baseball, then KJ, I don't think there's an age limit, but you have a contract, right? So after a certain amount of time in your contract, you can say, hey, I've already put in this amount. It's like the collective bargaining. Exactly. And so it's like, hey, my contract states I'm only required to do this amount of time in the minors. I don't have to stay with your team. I want out after 4 years. If not, I'm a opt out of my contract. And then by then, usually that player knows if certain other teams are interested in picking them up, basically. So yeah, it's in the contract though.
Okay.
And sometimes some of these players, if they don't find a team out here, they'll go to Japan. Just like NBA players, they go overseas. They go play baseball somewhere else. There's baseball in Mexico. There's baseball in Japan. There's, just like the NBA, there's basketball in Europe. So, that I feel like that's a great experience to have, like to go play overseas. I know it's a whole different game, I believe, but baseball wise, like I said, okay, I'm just like you sometimes. I'm not really into it, but I want to know about players here and there that, not even just pitchers like Kidder, like you said, Bryce Young. These guys were 18 years old coming out of getting drafted at 18 years old. Just like, what's his name was drafted? The kid from Arizona. He was drafted his junior year to fucking the A's. Sorry, to the A's. And the A's gave him the opportunity to play one more year of college football. Kyler Murray. And that kind of screwed over the A's because Kyler Murray was a good baseball player. He was a good baseball player. So that kind of messed up the A's for letting him. And he went to the NFL. And, when you're the first draft pick, what can you do? You understand?
Yeah.
You're going to get paid. There's a lot of people that do that pick. There's a lot of football players that got picked up to play baseball.
Wilson.
And I don't know, have you guys ever heard of any baseball players that were basketball players that chose basketball or like they were playing? A lot of these athletes come out and they're playing 3 sports in high school, 2 sports in college. Do you guys know of anybody that picked basketball over baseball or baseball over basketball before? Have you guys ever heard that? Because I always hear
Yeah.
football.
Yeah, it's usually football or like baseball or like baseball picking football. Yeah, I mean, I know there's some stories. I mean, I've heard them. I just can't remember the names.
There's this one trash can that was pretty good at baseball, or that got picked up. His name was Michael Jordan, but
I wanted you to say, "Oh, you want to play jokes? You want to play jokes?" That's why I said it, because the GOAT did it. The GOAT of the NBA played baseball. Yeah, he chose baseball for a little bit too. He said he sucked. That's why he went back to basketball.
So it says Kevin Johnson.
Dang.
He was drafted 23rd round in '86. Del Curry was drafted
Curry?
in the 14th round in '85 to the Rangers. And Muggsy Bogues was drafted to the minor league in '90. Or this is just a '91 card.
Yeah.
Charlie Ward, Scott Burrell. Yeah, those are the only ones that I see.
Yeah, I see, and I don't know, like Muggsy Bogues, like how tall it would have fit him to play baseball. Shoot.
Jack Del Rio,
The coach,
the Raiders coach, he was drafted 22nd round to the Blue Jays. A lot of these are going to be older players because nowadays people are so like AAU all year that they're not gonna.
They're not gonna have. Yeah, they're not gonna have. They're not playing 3 sports in high school.
Yeah.
Do you think that kills a lot of the
Eric Decker?
Eric Decker?
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. That's crazy.
What were you gonna say,
guys? I don't know if you guys have anything else you guys want to talk about. I just wanted to bring up some baseball. I wanted to talk about how everything's going. We're almost at All-Star break. Giving you guys a heads up. All-Star break is July 10, 11. We'll be talking a little bit more about baseball after the All-Star break. There's no trades going on. So right now, remember, it is 162 games, I believe, that they play. Yes, it is a lot of games. Basketball-wise, next week, just giving you guys a heads up, we will be talking a little bit more about basketball again. We're going to be talking about Jokic. A lot of the guys, we want our boy Allen to be here for that. And soccer-wise, one thing I did want to bring up, the Champions League final just happened. I know, KJ, you're not really into Champions League soccer, but just giving you a heads up. Man City did what a lot of teams never have done and are one of the teams that, they won 4 trophies in one season. Amos, talk to me about that very fast. Let me know what you thought. Like, Man City was another Denver Nuggets team that couldn't get over the hump. They got one player. His name is Haaland. That kid is a superstar already and has been a superstar. But man, that kid is great. But let me know what you think.
Yeah, I mean, City. So basically, Man City, they've been the best team in the Premier League, which is the number 1 league in the world. And then they've been, I want to say they won like 6 years out of 10, the last 10 years. They've won like 3 in a row. But I think we've explained it before. It's called the Champions League, and there's a big tournament within the season. And it basically the best teams in every league play in Europe, play in the Champions League, basically. And so it's the ultimate, it's the best of the best, it's the best tournament you can win. And for whatever reason, City hadn't won until this year, and they got the job done. They beat Inter Milan, a team from Italy that's pretty good, but certainly not on their level. And to Efren's point, they ended up winning 4 titles this season. I know we don't really do it out here unless it's like soccer, which we call it soccer out here. But yeah, I guess I could just say the best example is picture the NBA having in-season tournaments. And picture the Nuggets if they would have won 3 extra tournaments in season on top of the finals, right? And I think only one other team had done that, and it was Man United in 1999. So Sorry, for as far as the English team, Efren. As far as England teams, it was only Man United and City. As far as other teams, though, you said what? Barcelona.
Barcelona from Spain has done it.
Yeah. And I want to say maybe one other team, but don't quote me on that. But either way, the fact that we only have 3 or 4 teams, Efren, shows you how rare it is. And the kid Holland that they had got from the year before, or they got him this season, but he was at Dortmund the year before. This kid's a phenom. He's like 21, 22 years old, just scores a lot of goals. He's probably already top 2, top 3 player in the world already. I mean, people say soccer can be slow. You don't get enough goals. Well, if you watch Man City, you're going to expect to see a lot of goals. So, yeah, guys, we'll talk more. We can talk. We'll bring out more soccer stuff going forward as far as like the off-season what moves teams are making. And to Efren's point, the All-Star break for baseball is coming up soon, so we'll have a lot of good stuff on that. We'll definitely talk about baseball, a lot of baseball going forward. We'll probably be wrapping up a little bit with the basketball stuff.
I want everybody to subscribe, hit that like button. We want you guys to be, I want to hear everybody's answers when we hear it, especially you, KJ. I'll be waiting for these answers from you.